About to get an inside look at one of the main players, Ireland, as we talk to the leader there. Right now, joining us, Prime Minister, the leader of Ireland, Enda. Sir, good to have you on the program.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you so much for joining us. I guess first off, give Jeff and I a status check. Ireland has been quite resilient. How would you characterize where we are in this crisis a couple of years later after the bailout?
Well, from an Irish perspective, where we are 2 years on from the beginning of this administration, we had lost 250,000 jobs in the private sector. Our reputation was in shreds. Our banks were dysfunctional. We were not able to borrow on the markets. We've stabilised spending. We've stabilised the situation insofar as our targets are concerned. We've exceeded them on 7 analysis by the Troika. Interest rates have fallen from 14% to less than 4%. We've managed to rein in our spending. We've made some very serious decisions at an Irish government level, and that's been understood by our people that these decisions need to be made. So our economy's made progress, our country's made progress. Exports have been in double digits. Our banks have been restructured, they've been recapitalised. They're back out on the markets tentatively themselves. But our economy is in a fragile state, and we do need the assistance that has been committed to us from Europe. That means an agreement and a conclusion on the promissory notes, and also at the Eurogroup level, following the decision of the 29th of June last year to break the link between sovereign and bank debt. That means a lot for Ireland, because we were the only country that was actually required to borrow 64 billion and have our taxpayers repay that. So it's important for Ireland to exit the programme, that we get that assistance from our European colleagues, and that will be a demonstration, if you like, of a country with its people, government and people, working with Europe to demonstrate that this can actually work, and that's what we want to be, and we hope to exit our programme in 2013, this year.
So let's cut to the chase. What about your bailout extension request? Are you hearing anything about that this week, and are you confident you'll get it?
Well, we're operating here at two different levels. Clearly we're still in discussions and negotiations with the European Central Bank in respect of the promissory notes, and we hope to reach an agreement on that by the next payment date, which is at the end of March. And the other level, the Eurogroup has now commenced discussions following the decision of the European Council about the break between sovereign debt and bank debt of the 29th of June. And our Minister for Finance chairs that group, and the first issue that was dealt with insofar as Ireland was concerned was that Portugal and Ireland have sought an extension of the maturity that has been allowed to Greece. So that's gone into a working group and should report by March. I'm glad to say that there was an acceptance in principle that that should apply.
Right.
If that is concluded successfully, it would be a further assistance to Ireland. And that doesn't take into account the recapitalisation discussions which is based on it.
Do you feel there's been a double standard as far as Greece and the rules applied to Greece and the rules as applied to Ireland?
Well, Ireland is not Greece and never was, and obviously Greece is in a very different position.
But have you been treated unfairly, given the support that Greece has had?
Well, the mechanisms and the tools that are available now were not available when Ireland went over the edge.
Exactly.
And in that sense, we feel that the imposition on Ireland has been unfair, and that the mechanisms that are available now should be applied in Ireland's particular case. Obviously, Greece has now stabilised. We've moved away from all the talk in Europe about crashing out of the Eurozone, about default, about the breakup of the Euro. That's all been stabilised.
So is that completely off the table?
It's certainly not on the table in the measure that it was, and Ireland looks now to running an effective presidency which will continue that stabilisation of Europe, a growth of Europe, and turning to the possibilities for the future in terms of trade, the digital single market, of course the putting in place of a multi-annual financial framework, or the budget, with which Ireland will now be centrally associated, along with the presidency of the Council, and taking into account the fact that the Lisbon Treaty requires that the European Parliament give its consent and its authorisation for a budget to be put in place as well.
Some of this is very much dependent on market sentiment and on confidence in the idea that this will continue to improve. But isn't it a vicious circle? I mean, how do you continue to instill confidence in the markets and not allow the markets to really take control, pushing those rates higher, making it even more difficult to finance the debt?
I think you instill confidence in the market by making decisions, by being clear, by being decisive, by building trust between leaders and governments that Europe will do what it says it will do, and that it focuses on the enormous potential that it has of a 500 million market with the best cluster of developed economies on the planet, and where we can go beyond our own shores. I mean, talking about the follow-through on the high-level report for free trade between the European Union and the US. This has enormous potential. You consider the implications of the growth in a global sense in the Far Eastern countries beyond 2015, beyond 2020, and that's where we need to be. So Ireland's presidency will be run effectively in the interests of stabilising Europe, of growing Europe's economies, of making decisions that will engender continued confidence in the markets, as is evidenced in Ireland in the last 2 years. We need to continue that.
What also instills confidence is having a clear path set out by the government and by the country's leadership. So let me ask you in that context, will you go for the ONT as a way of transitioning Ireland out of its current problems?
Well, we hope to exit our programme this year. We've set out our government path and our government strategy. But clearly, as we come towards the end of the programme, we need to make arrangements to ensure that when a country does exit the programme, that there are opportunities there just in case there are any unforeseen circumstances.
What is the timeline on growth? When does the country get back to growth?
Well, we expect a growth of over 1.5% in 2013. Some put it as high as 1.8%, which is a very good performance given many of our European countries. We are meeting and surpassing all our targets insofar as the programme is concerned to get our deficit down below 3% by 2015. Clearly we've made some serious structural changes at home, challenging positions, but our people have been very patient in understanding that. I think when we hopefully get the support from Europe that's committed, that will help us even further to exit the programme, and a demonstration that here's one country that is a real success, not just in Ireland's case, but for Europe's case as well.
Mr. Kenny, some companies have been accused of dodging taxes, and Starbucks is one, I think, that has used the Ireland route as a way of reducing the taxes they pay in the UK. Can I just ask you on this, and put this on the record, is there any likelihood that you're going to change the way that these companies are allowed to operate so that they do pay the appropriate amount of tax on profits in the UK?
Well, first of all, Ireland's corporate tax rate is 12.5%, 11.9% effective. That is not changing. That's been there for many years. It's neither going up or going down. It's right across the spectrum. Everybody understands that. It's unfortunate that this has had a tag with an Irish and the Irish word in it. It's nothing to do with Ireland's tax regime. It is the tax position across the Eurozone. Ireland's tax position is very clear. Ireland is not a tax haven, and it is the regime of tax that applies throughout Europe that allows companies to do what they do.
What are your thoughts very quickly on what David Cameron has been suggesting recently in terms of the UK opting out of the EU?
Well, I don't speak for the British government. Clearly, the Prime Minister has made his comments here. Our priority really is to deal with the follow-through now from the euro crisis and the eurozone crisis, to continue to create stability, confidence, growth, and grow our economies. We are the closest trading partner with Britain. We have signed a strategic partnership with them. Our relationships are very close. Obviously, trade, business, economics, history, and all of that. But Ireland voted 60-40 in favour of the Fiscal Stability Treaty last year. We have a very central link to the euro and the eurozone, and that's where we see our future. I think the important thing here is that that we move as a European Union to make the changes that impact on everybody, and that includes the multi-annual financial framework, the digital market, the opportunities for trade. Remember that Britain was a driver of the single market, and we want to see Britain central to the future of the European Union as an important trading element within that. And obviously discussions over the next number of years will take place, but our priority is to run an effective presidency here to stabilise Europe, to continue its growth and provide opportunities for the 26 million people who are currently unemployed to have jobs and careers and opportunities within the EU.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Maria.